Hello, and today we're going to be talking about Andres Filomeno Mendoza Castile, aka the Butcher of Artizapan. Over the course of 30 years, in a case similar to John Wayne Gacy, he would pick up women, he would rape, murder, he'd butcher them, and then he'd bury the remains in a basement, a makeshift basement underneath his house. He was a necrophiliac, a cannibal, well known and well trusted in the community, and no one suspected a thing. And in this video, we'll talk about what happened and a little bit about why this depraved psychopath did what he did and how he managed to get away with this for so long. We start today's video in Artizapan de Zaragoza, a municipality in the state of Mexico, a scenic tourist destination, well known for the ancient Aztec sites that border the city. This would be the setting for a gruesome event that would uncover a cacophonous cavalcade of carnage. On May the 15th of 2021, Reina Gonzalez, the 34-year-old wife of local police officer Bruno Portillo, was on her way to Andres Mendoza's property in order to buy parts. She was going to buy parts for her phone, and she never returned. Her husband, Officer Bruno Portillo, got anxious and decided to go look for his wife. But when he got to Mendoza's home, Mendoza seemed reluctant to talk to the officer and refused to let him in. Portillo left and soon arrived with his police officer buddies. They burst open the door to find a nightmare. The officers penetrated the floor to reveal a basement. Inside sat Portillo's dismembered wife. This was shocking enough, but as they delved deeper, they found so much evidence that this man was one of the most savage beasts to ever walk the planet. Andres Filomeno Mendoza CELIZ was born November 19th, 1947, and grew up in Zematalan de Alvarez in Oaxaca, Mexico. Mendoza had three brothers and was the middle child. His mother was described as meek and living in the shadow of her husband, Mendoza's father. He was involved in politics and would help manage resources for the local towns. But he would also get drunk and he would beat Mendoza and his siblings. Despite this, it is reported that Mendoza admired his father and would later take on a political responsibility in order to give himself credibility and build trust within the community. He was elected president of his town every year since 2016 up until his arrest in 2021. But Mendoza was leading a sickening double life. He didn't learn to read until the age of 16, and it was around this age when he got into his profession, butchery. Mendoza is described as meek and mild-mannered individual. Every woman who was asked described him as such, but in reality, Mendoza hated women. He saw them as cold and calculating, and he often described them as robots who often dumped him for men who had more money. His hate for women was released when in 1991 Mendoza claimed the life of his first victim, whose identity remains unknown. He said that she rejected him at a bar, so he took her home, raped and murdered her before dismembering her body. And this was his modus operandi for more than 30 years. He would prowl the bars, streets, the clubs, looking for mainly voluptuous women who were in their 30s. He would go on to kill 19 more times that the police could confirm, although they suspect more, and we will discuss why in a minute. Mendoza was finally apprehended in 2021 when Reina Gonzalez was unfortunately snagged by the butcher of Artizapan. When investigators searched the home, they found over 3,500 bone fragments matching the DNA of 17 of his victims. They found hair dryers, shoes, nail polish, and voter cards, all belonging to the victims, but they also found something far more sinister. You see, Mendoza liked to film his escapades, and he filmed everything. He would invite the women to his home, he would tie them up, murder them, abuse his victim's corpse. He then began butchering their bodies, and often he did this whilst naked. He would then weigh and hang the dismembered body from the roof to dry before consuming and selling the dismembered parts to locals who were none the wiser. In one of the videos, it shows Mendoza removing the face of one of his victims. The reason he claims he did so is because she was pretty. Investigators also discovered a detailed record Mendoza kept of all of his victims. All in all, 29 victims. Investigators have so far confirmed 19, of which one is a baby and one is a male. He was calculated, he was methodical, he built a trust in the community that he abused for 30 years and no one suspected a thing. He lived a very sick and twisted double life and fooled everyone around him, and the only people who saw through his facade would never live to warn others. On Saturday, the 15th of May, Mendoza was arrested for his gruesome tirade, a decades long real life horror story, and he still sits in prison to this day where he awaits trial. That's all for today, and if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.